Hello and welcome back to my playthrough of Fargo Soul's Eternity mode. The last episode ended with me defeating the twins, so it's time to return to the picker wheel to see which class I get for the next boss. Whew. That was a tense fight. So with the twins down, it's time to spin for the next class, for either the Destroyer or Skeletron Prime. It's looking like ranged. Okay, that should be fun. With my class decided, I returned to my storage and grabbed some weapons that I had already available. I then get to work on gathering some upgrades, starting by defeating the Wall of Flesh a few times to get a Ranger emblem. This can be combined with some hallowed bars and many pre-hard mode ranged weapons to make the Sharpshooter Essence, which is essentially just a stronger version of the emblem for Rangers. After this, I spent some time in the Hallowed to gather pixie dust and unicorn horns to make holy arrows. With an endless quiver of these crafted, there's really not much else I can do before facing off against the Destroyer. The start of this fight seems mostly unchanged from vanilla, with the only difference being that the probes don't shoot at you and instead circle around you to try and tank some damage for the Destroyer. Luckily for me, the Daedalus Stormbow isn't affected by this, so the probes can mostly be ignored. At 75% health, the Destroyer gains a new attack where it will coil around the player. During this time, it will shoot lasers in what I can only describe as a pizza slice pattern, with additional curving dark stars to avoid. After this comes a telegraphed laser light display, in which the player will need to find small gaps in order to not take damage. For its third and final new attack, the Destroyer will release walls of dark stars that the player must weave between. These attacks will repeat until the Destroyer, or more likely the player, is defeated. Surprisingly close. Okay, that might actually be doable. After the twins, I was expecting to need dozens of attempts against the Destroyer, although surprisingly, I was getting very close, with my third attempt even ending on 1%. Oh, 1%. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to keep going. Obviously what I've got is working well enough. One thing is that the Destroyer is immune to debuffs, so this Frost Armor isn't actually helping too much. If I instead went for Adamantite Armor, since I believe it has a better set bonus, that might work better. The new armour seemed to help a little, and after a few more attempts, I finally got a successful one. Oh. It has been done! It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. After the twins, I really thought that was when things were going to start ramping up and just becoming more and more difficult. However, having taken on the Destroyer, I'd say that it's definitely a bit easier than the twins. So I guess we'll see how Skeletron Prime is and then decide how difficult things are going to be from now on. So, time to spin again and see what I get for the next boss, which is Skeletron Prime. I'm not sure what I'm hoping to get, potentially back to magic or summoning, which it seems I'm going to be doing. Now I did just get a summoning weapon from the Destroyer, so that's going to be quite interesting. The Destroyer gun doesn't act like most other summon weapons, as the minions it shoots will despawn after a few seconds. I wasn't massively impressed by it, but I kept it in my inventory for now, thinking I might try it out later. I didn't have enough hallowed bars to make a full set of armour, so instead used them to craft a Durandal, and stuck with the obsidian armour I made earlier. This is still one of the best options available due to the unique ability of boosting whip speed and range. To finish the loadout, I summoned some minions from the Blade Staff and went straight into an attempt against Skeletron Prime. My damage was pretty good, but unfortunately the same could not be said for my dodging, so I ended up dying. I probably don't need is this Sharpshooter's Essence. That's probably not necessary. What could work is going back to the Silver enchantment. That seemed pretty useful in pre-hard mode. This change didn't help much at all, and I kept failing attempts, finally deciding to try something different. I thought perhaps the Destroyer gun could be quite powerful with the right loadout, but my Obsidian armour was more whip based than summon based, so I farmed for the Spider set instead. After crafting this, I realised I'd also forgot to make the Occultist Essence, which is an upgrade of the Summoner emblem which also grants an additional minion and sentry slot. The next night, I tested out this new loadout against Skeletron Prime and destroyed him in seconds with my insane damage. Realising the Destroyer gun wasn't the move here, I switched back to the Durandal and my Obsidian armour combo and kept trying, and dying, and trying, and dying. What the? Why? How? Through the pain and grinding, I slowly got better at the fight, leading up to my first successful attempt after over 25 deaths. I found it was surprisingly helpful to circle the boss in the first phase, allowing me to dodge most of the projectiles from the hands. There was the occasional skull wall to consider, but this could be avoided by moving diagonally in any direction, which I was already doing by circling. At 75% health, Skeletron Prime will regularly perform this spinning arm attack, with the main worry in terms of dodging coming from the star walls he shoots. After this, Prime is almost nothing like it is in vanilla, with his arms moving in unity and his lasers shooting in alternating patterns to encourage deliberate movement. After some more time and a lot of luck, I whittle the boss's health down and finally defeat it. Oh, there we go. And that is all of the mechs down. Ooh, new magic gun. Be pretty good to get magic for the next class then, to use that. So now that all the mechs are down, it's time to spin for Plantera. I really don't know which class I'd like. I mean, magic would be nice since we got a magic gun, but ranged is also good. I'm happy with ranged. With all the mechs down, my options for new gear open up massively, starting with the dubious circuitry. This combines the Eternity mode drops of all the mechs, giving me immunity to the debuffs they cause and granting many powerful effects, such as making all weapons deal Ichor and Cursed Flames, spawning 2 Destroyer probes to shoot at nearby enemies, and increasing defense and damage reduction. I can also craft the Pickaxe Axe now, and after grabbing a few ranged weapons I put it to use in the underground jungle, mining as much chlorophyte as I can find. I'm careful to leave 1 block from each vein though, so that it can spread to nearby mud blocks if I need more later. I then start building an artificial mushroom biome around this living tree, thinking the auto hammer was available after the mechs rather than after Plantera. Regardless, the mushroom grass needed time to spread, so this ended up being a good idea in the long run, even if it's not immediately useful. Next, I upgraded my boots to Aeolus boots, which combines the effect of Zephyr boots, Terraspark boots, Dune Rider boots, Amphibian boots, and Fairy boots. In short, they make the wearer really fast. I then upgraded my armour from Adamantite to Chlorophyte, which used up most of what I had mined so far. I went back to mining Chlorophyte until I had enough for the endless pouch of Chlorophyte bullets. Cursed and Ichor bullets were not necessary due to the dubious plating already making me inflict those debuffs, so my options are between these and crystal bullets. The last upgrade I could make required taking down the Deviant once again to gather more deviating energy. This was quite a quick fight with my hard mode weapons and gear, and allowed me to craft the Pure Heart. Like most Eternity mode items, this has many different effects, including increased speed and health, immunity to many debuffs, and it will also spawn mechanical creepers to absorb damage, making this a great accessory for survivability. After removing some platforms and adding some Omnistations to my Queen Bee arena, I spawned Plantera. The main addition to the first phase is that Plantera will fill the arena with crystal leaves to avoid, and will occasionally shoot out a ring of these crystal leaves at the player. Once reaching phase 2, she will also spawn exploding mines that the player must weave around. In addition to this, she gains a new attack where she shoots out multiple vines with 2 gaps that the player can avoid damage in. Although even during this phase, the player must still avoid the mines. Unsurprisingly, I lose my first few attempts. Feels like my damage isn't high enough. But the Mega Shark's probably one of the best options at this point, so... I decide to switch to Crystal Bullets, as another mechanic of the fight is that the leaf crystals that surround Plantera will also absorb damage, which made homing weapons quite ineffective. Okay, that was better, yeah, I think Crystal Bullets are definitely the way to go. After a few more fights, I finally learned the attack patterns enough to come out on top, defeating Plantera and gaining access to the Jungle Temple. However, if you want to see me explore the temple and take on the golem within it, you'll have to watch the next episode. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, and if you enjoyed this video then leave a like, or comment, or both. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.